Hello, and welcome to another episode of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. I am Rico, and I'd like to remind everyone that I am not a doctor, I am not a therapist, and I am not a medical professional in any way. Just a regular person trying to navigate through life and trying to navigate what's going on here. It's still a mess. Still a mess. It's cleaned up a bit. I have a better understanding of things, but I still have a long way to go. So, for this episode, I wanted to get back on the topic of kitchen work. Now, in the last episode, I had discussed working in a certain kitchen, and I had been there for a couple of years. Things started out well, and then they just gradually got worse and worse. And instead of hearing my concerns, they just labeled me as a difficult person. And that was extremely frustrating. But for some reason, I just stuck it out. I just kept going, kept doing my job. I finally found a little self confidence, started calling myself a golden god because I was truly believing it. Like, I am doing such a great job. I am a golden god. And I never meant it to be better than anybody else. It was just a matter of me building myself up, me giving myself a little confidence, me picking myself up off the floor. So, I'd worked in this kitchen, and in that time, they had acquired a second location. So, this second location was smaller, less busy, and smaller staff. And, at first I didn't want to go. I felt like they were just doing it because they felt like I wasn't good enough. Their explanation was, you know, you're just getting angry all the time, so we're gonna try this other place. Maybe you won't be as angry. And this is the thing that just drives me crazy, is that they don't ask me why I'm angry, because I don't get angry for no reason. I'm not an angry person. I do tend to have angry moments, or I'll get angry over certain situations, but I am not generally an angry person. Anybody that knows me knows that. Anybody that knows me up close. Um, Towards the end, I was told that I yell and scream all day, every day, which is not true. That is not true whatsoever. In the heat of the moment, they decided to just try to hurt me as much as they could. And that's what it was. But let's get back to the beginning of working in this second location. It was a smaller kitchen, which was a little irritating, but, it wasn't bad. I got used to things pretty quick. Everything was a little bit different. Their modes of operation were a little bit different, but I picked up on all of that super fast, super quick. I am a fast learner. No matter what I do, I do a good job at it, no matter what it is. And again, I'm not trying to say I'm better than anybody. I'm only talking about myself. But I tried to make the best of it. Tried, try to make it a little better than the last time. Tried to kind of roll with it, and just I got along with the coworkers. I got along with a bunch of the people there, and everybody was pretty friendly and easygoing. But as always, as expected, there's always a couple of rotten apples in the bunch. There's always someone that goes behind my back and tries to make me look bad. Someone that I guess was intimidated by my performance. So they would try to find the littlest, pettiest little things and go behind my back and say, he's not doing this, he's not doing that. And it wasn't true whatsoever. But sometimes they would come to me and, oh, so and so says that you're doing this or you're not doing that. And I would have to explain myself, but it was just them being intimidated. And I wasn't trying to intimidate anyone. I just was there to do my job. But again, like all of the other ones, all the other jobs, there was somebody that wanted to make themselves look better by trying to make someone look worse. And that's what they did to me. And they did that quite a bit. So once again, I find myself in a position of having to explain myself when I didn't really need to, or I didn't deserve that, but somebody else wanted to try to make themselves look better. And that's exactly what happened at the last place. It's exactly what happened at the other two places. That's exactly what happened pretty much with all of them, all of my jobs. There was always somebody that was they were cool to your face. They were nice to your face, but as soon as they turned around, they would talk crap and they would just go behind your back. And it didn't work at first, but pretty soon they started buying all these little lies and coming to me like I was a problem. And much of the time, I didn't even have a chance to explain myself. I would just get a reprimand and just kind of be told, "Hey, make sure you're doing this or not doing that." And it was frustrating and discouraging, and it was quite irritating. But I'm going to take a real quick break, and I'll be right back with a little more of This Is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. Welcome back to This Is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. Getting back to the topic of kitchen work, and more specifically, this second location where I was moved to I don't know, try to make things easier. I don't know if that's the right word because it wasn't really. It was less busy, but I found myself carrying the team again. Anytime I would mention something, even jokingly, about carrying the team, it was just set everyone off, and nobody wanted to hear stuff like that. But they were, it was super easy for them to criticize anything that I was doing, anything. And after a while, it just felt like they just wanted to keep me down. You know, like in the past when I inquired about certain positions or managerial positions, anytime they just wouldn't even consider me. They would just kind of hear me, but then they would just dismiss it right away and then hand these opportunities to others. Just hand it to them. So I mentioned before how I had to beg for a raise to get that because I just wasn't being considered, even though I had gone above and beyond. Nobody notices that. Nobody notices when I make it easier for them. Nobody notices the hard work that I do. They only notice when I get upset. They only notice when the others complain. They only notice when something is slightly off or not as easy for them. And the favoritism just was just as bad as it ever was. There was always the baby of the group. And this just takes me back to my younger brother, who was the baby and who got the special treatment and was treated like he was special. And he expected all of us to treat him like he was special. And it's frustrating. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to treat you like you're special. Nobody ever treated me like I was special. I was just ignored and dismissed. Why would I treat you like you're special? You don't deserve it. You're not special. And they never thought I was worth their time. They never thought I was worth their consideration. They never thought I was worth any of it. The favoritism and the high school cliques just controlled this whole place. The managers were just acted like they were the popular high school kids, and they got to decide who was going to get the good stuff and who wasn't. And like I mentioned before, you had to be BFFs with somebody higher up to get any opportunities. And I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna. And I will say, I was friends with a few. I did hang out with a few outside of work. That's That one is really really tough because it just feels like betrayal. Somebody that you break bread with is suddenly your biggest enemy. That is betrayal in my mind. It was so hard to deal with, and it was so hard to just acknowledge. Just, 1 minute we're friends, and then the next minute we're enemies, just like that, just like that. And you know, I was not willing to participate in the little cartoon stuff, the high school, semantics. I wasn't willing to do that at all. And it was to my, it was, what's the word I'm looking for? It was detrimental to me. It didn't work for me, and it kind of held me back. But to be honest, you shouldn't have to suck up to anyone to get an opportunity. You shouldn't have to, get special treatment. Everyone should be treated on their merit and how they work, instead of who's the best friend, who's the baby, who do we want to treat special, who do we like, and who do we not like. And that's what was happening a lot. But I am going to take another break. I'll be back very soon with a little bit more of This is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. Welcome back to This is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. I am on the topic of my work experience after my back surgery. And by now, this is quite a few years afterwards, getting back into things. I did notice that my body is increasingly getting worse. My back surgeries, they did so much, but they also caused damage. And, you know, in one of those surgeries, I have a hernia, and it made things difficult for lifting. It made things difficult for standing at times, sometimes walking. I had to wear a truss, which is just like a belt that kind of helps push things back in. So, and I mention that because I had made some requests a little bit about maybe helping, a little accommodation, maybe getting a little help. I was getting tired of doing the extra work. I was getting tired of being the only one cleaning the fryers. I was getting tired of being the only one putting stock away. I was getting tired of that. But anytime I would make a request or ask for some accommodation, I would never get it. I was never considered. I was never, 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 ever. They would just always give you the empty promise of like, oh, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we can do. We'll see. And then they just would never follow through. And I was just frustrated. Again, I keep finding myself in this position, something I don't want to ever put myself through again from here on out. But, you know, I was still there, but no consideration for anything. Some of the coworkers, not all, there were some that were really good people, did a good job, but there were others that were lazy. Lazy. I saw a picture of one of my coworkers sitting in a chair watching TV. You know, I never got to sit in a chair and watch TV. I would put the TV on, but I never got to sit in a chair. I never got to take it easy like that. And that was just them taking advantage of me, having me do all of the prep. And then when things were a little bit easier for them, then they just got to relax. I never got to relax. But if things weren't done to their liking, then they would complain, and then I would get the reprimand, and I would get the discipline. And, you know, when I would call it out, nah, they didn't care. But when they called out something stupid, then I would just get the lecture. I mean, I got told that I just wasn't good enough because I didn't do one thing for them. One thing out of I did 12 other things that day, but I didn't handle one specific item, and they acted like it was the end of the world. They acted like I was the worst employee ever. They really, really damaged my self-confidence. I had built it up and I was feeling good about myself, and then now they're going to come to me and tell me that it's just not good enough. You're not doing what we want. You're not you're not it, because of one little complaint, because of from their little favorite. And that was frustrating. It took me probably 2 weeks to recover from that. Like every day I came to work, I was just questioning, why am I even here if it's not good enough? Why am I even doing this? And it made me think that they just didn't want me there. But they didn't want to let me go because they didn't want to deal with the unemployment. You know, used to call the owner Mr. Krabs because he was always, "Where's me money, boy?" You know, that's all he cared about was his bottom line, his dollars. He was cheap. He didn't want to pay for payroll. He didn't want to give anyone raises. He really seriously wanted to just pay everyone minimum wage. And that's what he wanted. But in an environment like that, you gotta compensate for it. You can't just expect people to come in and just make minimum wage for it. But I'm going to take a quick break, and I will be back with the conclusion of this video of This is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. Welcome back to This is Rico Trying to Heal My Inner Child. I'm just going to conclude this video, finish up on this last position of kitchen work. No matter what I did, it just wasn't good enough for anyone. No matter how hard I worked, no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I did, it just wasn't enough. There was always something that they wanted a little bit more. Or if I did this, they wanted that. It was never to their satisfaction. And I had asked for help many times. Like if we on busier days of the week, there are certain days where it's a lot busier for everybody. I asked for help because if I'm cooking all the time, I can't do the prep, and if I can't do the prep, then things fall apart. And trying to keep things stocked for the other shifts because they're a little bit busier. But I was never. They brought in a person one time on a busy Saturday. They brought in one extra person, and that was it. After that, I never had the help, and I would be left there by myself. Sometimes the manager would come in and he would step in and help, but I pretty much did it all, and it was frustrating, and I was getting extremely aggravated. And on a specific Saturday, maybe I should say my last one, I was very, very busy, and I was by myself. And I had put a comment about, I thought in the group chat about, I thought we were going to staff for this, but instead of considering anything, by the time the manager came in, instead of helping me, instead of dealing with it, he decided he was going to blame me for all of it. He was going to blame me for the ticket times. He was going to blame me. And he starts talking to me like I'm a dumb kid, like a teenager. So I lashed out. Of course I'm going to lash out. I'm going to defend myself. I'm not going to let you talk to me like that. But I was just blamed. Everything was my fault. And they even told lies. They told the other manager that there was forgotten food and poor quality, which is not true. None of that was true whatsoever. But In their minds, in their tiny little minds, they believed it, and they were just gonna, hold me accountable for that, instead of just, you know, instead of reacting and giving me a little bit of help. They didn't care why I was angry. They just saw it as, oh, he came to help you and you yelled at him. That's not true. I yelled at him because he treated me like I was stupid. I yelled at him because he told me I would get help, and I was not going to do it. Was not going to do it at all. I would rather you just tell me that you're not going to do it, rather than lie and pretend, just so I would be quiet, because that just makes it worse. But they blamed me. They just kind of like put it all on me. And so I went home, got into a text argument with the other manager, and he decided to let me go just because. I'm not going to get into the specific details of it, but they let me go. And it's 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 incredibly eye-opening when you find out that people that you thought were good people and people that you thought had your back were just horrible, evil people. Some of the things that they're doing now is just it's astounding. It blows my mind. I cannot fathom that people would treat other people this way. And this is the first time I have ever really felt accepted, like they accepted me for who I was, and they let me be myself. Now they don't like that. Now they're going to hold me down. Now they're going to kick me out. Now they're going to act like nothing I ever did mattered. They're going to act like nothing I ever did was good enough ever, and pretend that I was a problem, even though I was the one that was holding it together. And that pretty much brings me to now. I am Rico, and I am a golden god, and I'm never gonna pretend that I'm not, because I know my worth and I know who I am and I know what I am capable of. And it's much more than the tiny little things that they wanted to criticize. And if they can't see it, that's on them. If they can't see my worth and they can't see my capabilities and abilities and my intelligence, they can't see any of it. That's their problem. That's not my fault. And that's something that I'm learning, that I don't need their approval. I don't need their appreciation. I mean, it's nice to be appreciated, but I don't need their approval. I don't need them to approve of who I am. I don't need any of that. I know who I am. I appreciate myself. I take care of myself, and I am going to lift myself up as much as I can whenever I can, because I know who I am, and I know how smart I am, and I know how capable I am. I know what kind of things I can do. And like I said before, if they don't see it, that's their fault. That's their problem. I can't make anybody see it, and I can't force them to see it, but all I can do is be who I am and believe in myself and keep going. And that's all I can do. It's I am a golden god. I am. I believe in myself, as everyone should. I feel I feel for people that let others let others lead them to believe that there's something else that they're not. And I just encourage people to be themselves and be who you are. Be true to yourself. Don't act different for somebody else's sake. And I did that for a long time, and it never got me anywhere. But when I was myself, it still didn't get me anywhere. But I at least knew that I was being myself. I was true to myself. That's one thing that you can't take away. That's one thing you can't take away, is being yourself. If you know that you're being true to yourself and true to your heart and true to your soul, that's all you can get. And you can at least have the satisfaction in that. At least have your dignity, at least have some integrity. You know that you're doing right. Even if they don't want to believe it, that's their fault and that's their problem. So here we are. I'm presently working on, finding something else. I know that I'm never going to let myself go through that kind of stuff again, and I'm never going to let myself be a subject to succumbing to somebody else's ideas of who I am. I am who I am, and I'm going to be who I am. And I am Rico. So, with that, I thank you all so much for watching. I thank you for subscribing. I thank you for supporting. I thank you for everything. I thank you for existing. The world is a better place with you in it. It really is. And all I want to do is build a community of people that take care of each other and support each other and believe in each other. We don't need to tear each other down. Life is hard enough as it is. We need to build each other up. We need to believe in each other. We need to give each other support. And that's all I want. So, with that, from the heart of my bottom, I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for being here. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will see you again very soon with some more of This is Rico trying to heal my inner child. Thank you.